White House says on Twitter that Obama has submitted to Congress required reports and certifications indicating his intent to take Cuba off the list. The countries still on the list are Syria, Sudan, and Iran. Speaking of Iran, Tennessee Senator Bob Corker says his committee has reached a compromise on a measure that would give Congress its rightful say on any nuclear deal with Iran.
Congress will have the ability to debate and decide whether Congress wants to move ahead with a resolution of approval or a resolution of disapproval.
The Associated Press reports that the compromise shortens the congressional review period and makes other changes sought by President Obama. According to his spokesman, President Obama would be willing to sign a compromise bill giving Congress a say on the nuclear deal with Iran. All but one of 10 former Atlanta public school educators were sentenced to jail time Tuesday in a widespread conspiracy to inflate student scores on the state's standardized tests. A plea deal was offered to the teachers. Fulton County DA Paul Howard says he is frustrated that more teachers did not take the deal.
It was my thought that by accepting responsibility, that it offer a measure of a way for our community to heal and move forward.
Teachers who did not take deals can appeal within 30 days and be out of jail on bond. Florida's ban on gay adoption is getting tossed out by the state's Republican-controlled government. The Florida Senate on Tuesday voted 27-11 for an adoption bill that repeals the law first passed in 1977. Senator Don Gates, the sponsor of the measure, called the current ban, quote, meaningless because it is no longer enforced. An appeals court ruled it unconstitutional in 2010. But Senator Alan Hayes of Florida calls the repeal of the ban a poison pill. He urged lawmakers to consider the long-term implications of repealing the ban. Arkansas will soon have a Ten Commandments monument on state capitol grounds, and AFN's Charlie Butts reports supporters do not believe it will be successfully challenged in court.
Governor Asa Hutchinson has signed a bill that in time will permit the monument to be on state capitol grounds. State Representative Kim Hammer carried the bill in the Arkansas House.
I believe the Ten Commandments are very historic in nature as to going back to the founding of our nation, and it deserves a spot on the Capitol grounds along with all the other monuments that have been icons for particular events in the state.
Hammer lists a few of them.
You've got the example of the Civil War soldier who's overshadowed by the guardian angel that's on the Capitol grounds. You've got the Fireman's Memorial that has the Angel of Mercy recognized as being a presence. Of course, you have the monuments to the various wars that have occurred at which Arkansans have helped pay a price in, whether it be the Vietnam War or the other significant wars.
And there are others as well. Hammer said the Ten Commandments law is patterned after Oklahoma and Texas, and those monuments have been upheld in federal court. He expects the Arkansas Ten Commandments to be up in about a year after going through all state agency hoops, and believes private funds will be raised within 60 days.
Millions of health records nationwide are being stolen or hacked, according to a new study which says the problem is getting worse. Rita Foley reports on the type of information the bad guys are getting and what you can do about it.
They're getting patient names, home addresses, ages, illnesses, test results, and Social Security numbers. A cybersecurity expert recommends staying alert to cyber threats, including phishing emails from hackers posing as doctors, hospitals, or health insurance companies. They may ask you to click on a link, but don't do it. Instead, call your doctor and double-check doctor bills and other insurance company information to make sure you got the service listed.
And 2 NBA teams will tip off in Mexico this December. It will be the NBA's third regular season game in Mexico, where nearly 24 NBA games have been played overall. For more news and information, visit onenewsnow.com.
In this day of economic uncertainty and soaring unemployment, safe investments are often hard to find. But investing in the precious metals is the safest investment of all, because gold and silver is real money. Government-printed currency is not. Call Melody Cedarstrom at Discount Gold and Silver Trading Company at 1-800-375-4188. Melody has been helping people secure their financial future for over 10 years. While others in the business claim honesty, Melody will deliver. Give her a call, 1-800-375-4188. That's 800-375-4188.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Hey folks, Barry Chamish back. We got through I think you enjoyed the first hour, but we've got what can you say about my next guest, except he was published a month ago by HarperCollins, which I want you to know is actually a bigger publisher than usually comes on this show. That's a major publisher. Look, we're talking with Robert Vera. He wrote a book about his friend, Ryan Jobe, and it recounts how the highly decorated Navy SEAL's unstoppable sense of humor, positive attitude, and fierce determination helped him survive after being shot in the face by an enemy sniper on a roof in Ramadi, Iraq. Is that a good intro?
That was great. Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much for having me on today, Barry.
Oh, the opposite. We're going to lead to a real good conclusion after reading what you sent me. It's really quite something. Look, the fact of the matter is that, he was blinded, and in spite of being blinded, he came back to America. Now, this is what you run a course in physical training without diving into them. What it is, you're saying that Job climbed, amongst his many, many accomplishments, blind. He climbed to the height of Mount Rainier. All right, you got to explain that. Is there, a path to the top or something? How do you do it blind?
Well, let me explain that, and let me give you some context. Ryan Jobe, for those who may have read the book or seen the movie American Sniper, may remember Ryan as Biggles from the movie American Sniper. He's also in the book. Chris Kyle dedicated his book to Ryan Jobe and another fallen Navy SEAL named Mark Lee. Chris and Ryan Jobe served on the same SEAL team together, SEAL Team 3 in Ramadi, Iraq. What happened to Ryan was he was on a rooftop with Chris Kyle. They were covering their SEAL team below when Ryan was shot in the face by an enemy sniper. He was nearly died on that rooftop, and miraculously, by the courage of the SEAL team and the professionalism of the physicians and other medical professionals that helped to evacuate him and worked on him, he lived. I met up with Ryan a year or so after he was wounded. He was missing his right eye and was totally blind in his other eye. The first day I met Ryan Jobe, he said, "Hey, I've heard you've done a couple of those Ironman triathlons. I'd love to do one. And by the way, I have an opportunity to climb Mount Rainier. Do you want to train with me?" Barry, I just thought that was the most incredible, thing, right? There's this guy who is, obviously been wounded. I mean, you could tell he's blind.
Well, he's certainly pushing the limits of blindness by climbing to the top of 14,000-foot peak in Washington. Did you hold his hand? How was it done?
Yeah, good question. No one held his hand. I mean, miraculously, Ryan, literally, Rainier is 14,411 feet. It's the most glacially covered peak in the lower 48. 3 people die each year trying to reach the summit, and 50% of the able-bodied people don't make it. Ryan Jobe did not use a rope. Usually you connect to a rope team in the higher part. Ryan Jobe did not use a rope. He had a listen and feel technique, and he climbed from the visitor center, which is at Paradise, up to 10,000 feet, completely unassisted, just by the use of 2 walking sticks or like ski poles, and his hearing just sort of followed the footprints in front of him. And then when he did get to that 10,000-foot site, where that's really the launching off part for the high peak, Ryan just tied up, in fashion mountain climbers do. We tie up, and you rope up in a rope line, and you try to stay with the team, right? And you climb behind the person in front of you. And Ryan told me that he listened very closely, and he tried to put his foot in the prints of the ones in front of him, just listening and feeling the whole way. And that's how he summited Mount Rainier.
How many days were you on this mountain?
typically the climb can be done in a very short period of time. It's one of those climbs. It's dangerous, but typically that climb took a total of 3 days from start to finish.
That's serious.
Typically it's a day to 10,000 and a day up and then a day down. You sort of wait and then come back down the next day. So it was about 3 days.
What month was this?
This is in July. In fact, it's one of the best times to climb in July.
That's easier. I've seen Mount Rainier. I've been there. It's very, very snowy. From the fall to the spring, it's really got a snow cap on it.
It's snow cap the whole year round. In fact, the last time I was on the year, which was 2012, at the summit in July, it was 7 degrees below zero.
Oh, gosh.
So
all right, this is a guy.
It is the most glacially covered mountain. That's not the only accomplishment Ryan Jobe. I mean, Ryan Jobe, after he climbed Mount Rainier, we took him hunting.
I'm reading from you. You said he went elk hunting and bagged an elk. Now, how do you do that blind?
So a 980-pound elk he melted with one shot. Ryan had a spotter, and this is interesting. We took a rifle. Camp Patriot is the organization. It's a nonprofit organization that takes wounded and disabled veterans on outdoor adventures. They never took a blind hunter out before, so they brought a gun in, a rifle. They had an internet camera put in the scope, and they had the image fed to a laptop. So Ryan had a spotter that carried the laptop, and Ryan set up. They spotted an elk. Ryan set up, got the elk, in his sights, and his spotter gave him the signal, and Ryan, one shot, melted a 980-pound elk. I mean, just an amazing...
Either technology has taken a big leap, or the elk was really dumb. I mean, one of the two. He stood by and let him get his computer trained. Oh, say it again. You're saying that the computer told him where the elk was, and it worked?
No. Ryan, all we did was took an internet camera, one that shot video, to a computer screen. Ryan went out, hunted down the elk with his spotter, set up. All that was an eye in a scope, and that eye in a scope fed to a internet, not an internet, but to a laptop computer, and that eye in the scope fed to a laptop computer. Once Ryan positioned his rifle on the X, the heart of the elk, Ryan spotter gave him the signal. Ryan pulled the trigger and melted a 980-pound elk.
And listeners, you wondered why I was confused by this. If you followed that, all right, it was an accomplishment. Obviously, technology allowed him to bag an elk. I mean, of course, obviously, the desire was there, but technology helped.
Of course, technology was played an enormous role in it, but still you have to go and find that elk and hunt it down and trace it, and you know what I mean. So it's not anyone who's a hunter knows that elk hunting is not an easy task. Certainly not one that you're blind. I mean, half the challenge of elk hunting is getting to the place where the elk are.
Well, I'm going to repeat, first of all, before we get further, and it's going to get more interesting, folks, I promise you, but you're talking about a book with a very, very interesting title, A Warrior's Faith. What was his faith?
Well, it's serious.
Obviously,
Ryan,
he was a warrior. All right. That part's you proved. What was his faith?
Well, Ryan, his last name, curiously enough, was Job. And the only other Job I knew was the Job in the Bible. And Ryan lived the gospel all in. He refused to be a victim. Ryan refused to allow his, what others called a disability, allowed him to be anything but wholly positive. And I'll tell you what, one of the most sort of fascinating things to me, one of the most empowering things that happened to me, when I finished the book, the manuscript, and I sent it to HarperCollins, I got a call from my editor, and she asked me, did Ryan ever bemoan the fact that he was blind? And I thought about it. I said, I'll call you back. And a couple of days later, I called him back and said, I have to tell you something. Ryan Jobe never once bemoaned the fact that he was blind to me. In fact, he told me that he was grateful that he was the one who was shot on the roof, that he was the one that was made blind.
I could see other people taking a very, very different attitude than this one. Look, first of all, before we dive into it, I want to add that you gave the eulogy at Ryan Jobe's funeral, and that's kind of significant. What can I say? You were close to him.
We were close, and at that, I gave the eulogy there. That was the first time I met Chris Kyle. I mean, it was in 2009. I gave a eulogy, and Chris was a pallbearer. And him and I, that was the first time that we met. And Ron and I were as close as you could get. As friends. We trained together every day. We talked pretty much, every day, and he was he was a good friend. I mean, I think when you meet somebody like a Ryan Jobe, who is just, somebody who is up for anything, willing to sort of, reach beyond what normal people are willing to do. I mean, it's just, that's a guy that person is very special in your life. And then we became good friends.
Well, we're going to dive into a very interesting. By the way, undoubtedly the book is great, but boy, this whole incident with Kyle and Jobe. Now, what you write is Chris Kyle's story is one of overcoming demons, whereas Ryan Jobe's story is one of embracing angels. All right. And by the way, you add Hollywood doesn't make movies about that. Not one that Clint Eastwood would be very interested in. But what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm not sure that, first, let me just say that I never wrote the book to consider, it being a movie. And, I wrote the book to honor my friend Ryan and to honor the people that he knew and loved and to share a story of transformation, to share a story of faith, and to empower people, that read the book. I mean, that's why I read the book. Now, having said that, I'm not sure that I can't speak for Mr. Eastwood and his, particular preference as to movies, but, maybe or maybe not, this is a story that,
don't be apologetic. I'm sure we're talking about equal human beings, but you're making a claim here. You're saying that Kyle was overcome by demons, and that was not Ryan Jobe.
I don't think that, frankly, I don't think that Ryan did have, first, let me say this. If you're not completely altered in a fundamental way from your experience as a warrior at war, then there is something wrong with you, I mean, if you don't have PTSD or some type of condition after going through what I've heard people go through, then there may be something wrong with you. I mean, I'm not sure what that definition is or what the clinical sort of diagnosis would be. But if you're not profoundly altered from an experience of war, because it is a profound and in some cases a profane experience, if you're not altered in some fundamental way, then there may be something wrong. But Ryan,
I have to tell you something, just so we understand each other. When I was young, I was also a soldier, and I was also in war. Well, in my case, I was a soldier for the Israeli Defense Forces, and I fought in the Lebanon War of '82. And you know what? I pretty well blocked that experience from my memory pretty well. It comes back every now and then, but traumatic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's profound, right? That was a profound experience.
You can't avoid it. You're being shot at. That's not nice.
Yeah, and that changes you. And it changes your outlook. It changes who you
have to shoot back
have relationships
people,
with.
And you might be killing them. That is not your natural way of behaving.
it's not. And that changes people. And, you know, so in a way, like, I know this sounds strange in a way, but for the people that I know and the warriors that I've met, who I call friends, you know, I'm in a way, I know this sounds strange, but I'm glad that they've been changed, right? Because that experience should change you. I mean, it should have been altering, because it is not normal. It is profound. And, you know, I'm glad that they, you know, I'm sorry that they had that experience, but I'm glad that they are changed by it. You know what I mean? It means that they are normal. There is nothing really wrong with them. They are human. They have that experience. And so when you say demons, I think, you know, Ryan, you know, I know he was changed by that, and I think, you know, I'm sure that all warriors are. And Chris and I never spoke about that. Chris Kyle and I, we never spoke about those things. We briefly talked about one incident, and that was it. But you know, you can't help, I think, that after seeing those things, you know, to be altered. And, you know, and I, you know, I'm privileged to know those people.
You know, being blinded is not just altered, your life has changed. My unit lost 3 soldiers. It doesn't matter. They were alive and they were hit by a rocket and they were dead. That kind of stuff. But I blanked that out of my mind. Svi Wolf was one of the dead soldiers. There, it came back to me. All right, let's go back. I shouldn't be doing it. It's very egotistical I'm doing this. All right, I'm going on to the part in the movie where Job is being portrayed in a hospital proposing to his girlfriend. Well, you said that's not the way it happened. That was Clint Eastwood's dramatic license. That was, in short, dramatized, not true.
Correct.
Oh, you don't want to you don't want to expand on that, huh?
No, that's not. My book doesn't speak to that. It's just not. I mean, that's the movie version of Chris Kyle's book. My book is about Ryan Job, so it's not true.
All right. And that is, by the way, Mr. Job. All right, neither here nor there. Now, look, I'm going to quote you. All right, here's what you wrote, and here's what I made of it. Job liked to laugh and to make other people laugh. And a friend tells the story of visiting Job in the hospital after his blindness was confirmed and asking Job what he was going to do. Quote, he told me all he needed was an eye patch and a parrot to sit on his shoulder. I assume you mean yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum.
Yeah, I mean, that's given, you know, and let me put that in context. So Ryan wakes up from a coma, and they give him the news that, hey, just want to let you know, on the same day that you were wounded and shot, your friend Mark Lee, your fellow SEAL, went out after the enemy who shot you. He was shot and killed. And by the way, 3 weeks after that, Mike Mansour from the sister platoon in SEAL Team 3 was on a rooftop, and he jumped on a grenade to save his friends, and he's dead. And by the way, you're never going to see again. And Ryan was confronted with that news, and when his friend came in, he said, quote that you said, hey, you know what, I'm going to make the best of this. I'll get an eye patch and a parrot, and I'll become a pirate. I mean, you know, Ryan refused to be a victim. He refused to allow, you know, the circumstances of his life or the circumstances that he was in to control the inside of him. And, you know, Barry, I just want to say something is that, you know, I thought about the word hero for a long time. And I've thrown around a lot about, you know, he's a hero or she's a hero for really, you know, sort of, I think, bizarre things. And, you know, I thought, you know, what is the definition of a hero? And I think that a definition of a hero or a hero is somebody who acts greater than their past. They will not be a victim of their past. They act greater than their environment. They're not a victim or they're not a product of their environment. And lastly, what heroes do is they act greater than the way that they feel. I know that Ryan Job probably wasn't feeling, you know, like he wanted to get up and go, but he got up and went. And, that's what I decided that I admire about all my heroes. I think we all admire those three things about our heroes, is that in the face of adversity, they act different, and I say greater than the people around them. And that's what I admired about Ryan Jobe. In the face of his adversity, in the face of a lifetime of blindness, he just got up and kept going and made his blindness more of an inconvenience than it was a disability.
Well, I'm going to say that would be his faith. You didn't really answer what is a warrior's faith. Now, normally that would be in God or something beyond him. I think I'm partly answered what a warrior's faith is just now.
Well, I mean, really, the warrior's faith, and look, that's a title that was picked by the publisher. My initial title was My Book of Job, because it tells the story of our friendship and what Ryan's life meant to me. But Ryan's faith, I think, was a warrior who had faith, and the type of faith that I think was without question. I think Hebrews actually says it the best, and really personifies Ryan Jobe. Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you cannot see. And that was Ryan's faith. I mean, that's what he personified. That's what he lived. He lived that every day.
All right. Now, are you saying it's more than a coincidence that his last name was Jobe?
I don't believe in coincidences.
All right, I got you. I got you. We're on a good page right now. I see. Well, I'm going to grill you, though, for the next half hour. I talked to people about your book, and I read what you read, and I got prepared. Now, coming up, you're going to... I'm going to ask a little about how the heck did he die? All right, but I'm not going to do that right now. It's not fair. But you just don't go into a hospital for pretty typical surgery and you're overdosed by the doctors. And you say that. But we won't get into that right now, okay? What's coming up in the next half hour, first things first, tell people how to get your book.
Sure. Thanks, Clay. I appreciate it. You can get it on Amazon.com. It's number one in releases. You can go to any bookstore right now, carries it nationwide, as well as Costco carries the book. So Amazon.com, Costco, or any bookseller nationwide. You can also find the book and order it online at awarriorsfaith.com.
And, of course, we won't forget the author, who is Robert Vera. You forgot to mention you.
Right, and you can find, if you look at the Warriors Faith on Facebook, and you can find me on Facebook at Robert Vera as well.
All righty. Now, this actually sounds like a book lots of my listeners would really like. So we're on the same face. And, well, they will. Lots of my listeners, let's put it this way, they went to see the Clint Eastwood picture. Like it or leave it, they're very, very sympathetic to the point of view in your book, okay? That said, when we come back, first of all, I want to say that in the case of Ryan Jobe, his blindness was just a minor inconvenience. He overcame it. He wasn't frustrated. There were parts of the faith I don't think you got, but he did not ever want to be labeled handicapped there. Did I do that right?
Correct. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 minutes of messages, and then just when we come back, you're going to see a slightly different me, and don't get ticked at this, okay? This is Barry Chamish. We'll be back at 3, and, of course, Robert Vera is our guest, and a good one, too.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Have you seen the Left Behind movies? Have you read the Left Behind fictional book series? Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. Because they see the world stage shaping to fulfill what they have been led to believe is sound biblical interpretation, a Left Behind rapture scenario, this false view of prophecy is reinforced in the mind, not only of its adherents, but also includes those who have been merely exposed to the specific media. Is it possible that false prophecy can be fulfilled? The rapture theories have always been in dispute. Pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib disputes have risen up in exclusively evangelical circles of recent history, so that when true believers don't suddenly disappear, this element will easily go by the wayside when all see a new Jewish temple begin to be built. Will this be part of the great delusion that will come upon the whole earth? It seems that this great prophetic delusion has already overcome practically the entire American evangelical and Christian world. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. To learn more, visit crosstheborder.org. That's CROSS, crosstheborder.org.
Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Hi, everybody. It's Barry Chamish with a very, very good guest. Right now, I have to plug me, or else why am I doing this show if you don't buy my books? They're all at lulu.com, www.lulu.com, and I don't know which one of my books is relevant to this topic, so look at them all. And my website is www.barrychamish.com. All right, Brian, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. These are your words, and we're going to... how the heck with it. You are very, very, hidden, okay, circumspect and all this. I'm going to read the quotes from you. Tragically, after surviving the deadly attack in Iraq, Ryan Jobe died of an accidental medical overdose at the Maricopa. It doesn't matter where. All right. And then you add, now here's your, again, this is what you're sending out. And any thinking person would look at this and ask. Jobe died in 2009 following surgery at the Maricopa Medical Center. There I said, the county agreed to pay Jobe's family $4 million to settle a lawsuit, although details of what went wrong were not disclosed. Now, that's really a mouthful. When a person dies, you disclose why. Go into this, and don't be shy about it.
Yeah, Barry, thank you very much for bringing this up, because this is the part that I struggled with personally the most. So I spoke with Ryan, the night after surgery. He actually had 2 surgeries, and I spoke with him afterwards. He was doing great. I mean, he was anxious to know about, everything we had planned and how things were going. I had his dog. I usually would take his dog. And he was just doing great. The next morning, I got a call from early in the morning, his wife called me, and hysterical. And, I raced her to the house. I picked her up. Ryan's mom was there. And we got to the hospital entrance, and the staff was waiting outside. And right then I knew it was true that Ryan was dead. And what nobody knew but me, walking into the hospital holding his widow's hand, is that she was pregnant with their first child. And I went in, and they suggested strongly, they told us that the cause of Ryan's death was that they believed that he ingested and aspirated on chewing tobacco. I thought that at that point, I was like, wait a minute. I've known Ryan. Look, that did not happen. I went in, I asked to see him, I checked his mouth, I checked, all around him, and then I immediately called my attorney. I said, look, I don't know what to do. I need you to tell me what to do, because I'm distraught right now. I don't know what to do. I need to do something. I made a promise to Ryan. The night before, the last word I ever spoke to Ryan was, hey, man, I'll take care of business here. You just take care of business up there. See you in the morning. And that was the last words I ever spoke. I had no idea that would be my promise to him for life. But at that point, I'd be damned if I was going to break it. So called my attorney up. He told me what to do. What happened was that Ryan, in fact, did not aspirate on chewing tobacco. That he had 5 times the amount of fentanyl in his system needed to kill him. And the hospital, as you read, and that was not my quote. That's actually a quote from the Arizona Republic newspaper that I put in my book. They paid a settlement not to go to court because they knew that they lied. They knew that they tried to cover up their lie. And here's my problem with it, Barry. This is what it is. If no one did anything wrong,
just one little problem, huh? All right. Well, what's your problem?
So if no one did anything wrong, right, then why not have a third-party dispassionate investigation? Because justice, and I think you and I we're reasonable people, we would agree that justice is a dispassionate review of the facts to get to the truth. And that's a reasonable definition, right, of justice, right? So if you have nothing to hide or nothing wrong, then why don't we have a dispassionate, not the hospital doing their own investigation, but a third party doing an investigation as to the facts to find out exactly what happened. Not a hospital, certified group, or the hospital itself, a third party dispassionate. Now, my problem is precisely this. If someone's death does not trigger that type of investigation, then what event will? Can anyone tell me? What event would trigger that type of investigation?
How did you find out that 5 times the amount of, knockout drugs were in his system?
It was in the autopsy report, which was made public.
Really?
Yes.
Doesn't that say he was murdered?
That's speculation. Again, it's like I mean,
but let's say it's
but look, that's why. Barry, you and I, look, we're reasonable people. I just said, and I'm just saying, with all the protocols, those who are physicians, and those in the medical industry, and those listening today, those listeners know the protocols you have to use and go through when you're administering an opiate, a narcotic. You know what they are. How does somebody, violate all those protocols to be able to give an overdose? Now, having said that, hospitals overdose patients all the time. It's not uncommon and it's not unusual, and that's just facts. But look, I guess my passion about this, you can hear it in my voice, is that because he was my friend, and and everyone has a friend or a loved one that happened to, and justice to me is what we just said, is that it's an objective review of the facts to get to the truth. And to my mind, although I've forgiven and letting it go, I haven't forgotten. And
Robert,
I do think
we're on the same side in a way that, look, I also lost close friends, suspiciously. I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. You're getting me on a different train of thought. I know exactly what you're going through.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, so that brings up a great point. You know, when I finished the manuscript, it was double the length of the current book. I mean, it was almost twice as long. In fact, it was twice as long. And, you know, I decided after I wrote it that, you know, I needed to use the physical book itself, the size, and you have a copy of the book, the size of the book, the number of pages, to convey a message of a life cut short. So I rewrote the book and cut it literally in half. Because I wanted at the end, I wanted people to be able to read it in one sitting or thereabouts. And at the end, I wanted them to get a feeling of pride and of, you know, such, you know, grace in this guy. And I also wanted them to feel the real feeling of that's it. This life was cut short. And that's why I shortened the book to really give the reader that physical sense of a life cut short. And that's why my publisher was dubious of it. You know, they said, "Hey, look, you know, are you sure about this?" And I said, "Yeah, I am. I want to make sure that readers get that sense that this is a life cut short." And many people have said since who've read the book that I did. I sat in one sitting at the end. I was left with that feeling of is there more? And
Robert, you have another book in your system, and if I can help you in any way, I wrote. Well, one of my books was the murder of the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. What a cover-up that was. I'll guide you in any way if you decide you want to write part 2.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. And yes, I thought about it. I need to pray about it. And, you know, my thoughts have changed now because I used to, like, plan and then pray. And it occurred to me that maybe that's not the right, you know, course of action. Maybe I should pray and then, you know, plan after that. You know, maybe it'll be sanctioned by God if I do it that way, if that's sort of the way to do it. So, yeah, I'm praying about it, and hopefully I'll come to some conclusions.
Many of my listeners and readers believe things will take care of themselves without butting in. And it's not true. You have to butt in.
Yeah. No, look, I'm a butter-inner, you know what I mean? I just can't. I have to. And so, but yeah, it's on my mind, and, you know, just need to think about it. But yes, I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the listeners out there for, you know, for their support. And it's been,
I got more for you coming
really
up.
Well.
I got more for you coming up. Okay, I did a little. Well, let's just say I have a lady who does her own research privately, and I combined it. First of all, what you wrote. All right, allow me to read this. You gave the eulogy at Job's funeral, which was attended by Chris Kyle. And here's your words. And I can read through the words, you know. This is a press release, and I can read through this. The funeral, okay, here it is. You're talking about Chris Kyle, your words, who allegedly passed away at the hands of a fellow veteran suffering from post-traumatic PTSD, whom Kyle was trying to assist. Nobody throws in the word allegedly lightly.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris, that kid who killed Chris Kyle, I don't even want to mention his name. He did not have PTSD. I know a lot of people with PTSD. I count them as my close friends. I have never, ever felt threatened. I've never, you know, they've been around my family. I've never felt in any way like, you know, they were not stable. In fact, every one of them that I know has a full-time job, you know, and then some, working to, you know, there's no dysfunction among them. So this person who, you know, who killed Chris Kyle, I mean, he did not have PTSD.
In cold blood, in the back. All right, I don't have to add anything to that.
But he not only killed Chris Kyle, he killed Chad Littlefield, who, you know, Chad was Chris's friend, who was just there to help out. I mean, Chad had nothing to do with the military. He wasn't there. He was just Chris's friend who had volunteered to go down to the gun range or the country club that actually had a gun range, to help this kid. And that kid did not have, the person who murdered Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield did not have PTSD. That's,
now we're going to build. Look, I'm glad I chose this. I really am. Your emotions are coming through finally. It was not just somebody dying. It was somebody dying terribly suspiciously. Now, look, here is what my source told me about Chris Kyle. He had a security firm. It was called Kraft. It was in charge of the Boston Marathon security. Did you know that?
Yeah, I had heard. I didn't know if I was in charge of it, but I had heard, and maybe I'm not sure from who, or maybe I just had seen images in social media and the like that, Kraft personnel may have been there. And the only way I knew that is because the images showed, people would look like Kraft uniforms wearing the Kraft logo on their baseball hats. So I had heard that, yes.
All right. Now we're building our case. And by the way, we're going to return to the Ryan Job that you present in this book, but I want to get this out of my system. Coincidences don't happen really this way, that two men, one dedicates his book, the other, they're close friends, all right? Leave it at that. They're both dead, suspiciously. It shouldn't have happened. And then this Boston Marathon connection. Look, if you want to build a very interesting book, I just gave you the basis.
I know. It's like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's hard, I guess, when you look at it, you're like, how could you not see the connections?
Exactly. Exactly. But the world didn't.
Yeah, it's just very difficult not to say, well, that is very suspicious. I wonder how this all comes together. And, and look, I count myself as one of those people who is, not a conspiracy theorist. I'm somebody who is, I think we all are reasonable people and want to believe the best. But, when things start adding up to the point where, you're like, wait a minute, this seems overreaching and overwhelming, you know what I mean, to seem like a coincidence. And that's when it gets strange for me. And, is it strange for me yet? Yeah, it's approaching strange. It's strange. I mean, is it scary? Yeah, it's approaching scary. I don't, do I think Ryan's death? I just don't know. And look, the fact of the matter is, I'm being honest with you about this. I'm sure that Ryan's was not the first death at that facility. I'm sure it wasn't. And, it was look, the many organizations, and you and I both know this, is that you put very competent people in an incompetent organization, and they become incompetent. You know what I mean?
Are they such amateurs that they can put 5 times the amount of an opiate? Are they that really amateurish at this facility?
They violate all the protocols along the way. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to tell you that I have been under surgery. They put, if anything, under the amount. You wake up too soon. Putting 5 times the amount of an opiate is murder. Somehow it's murder. And I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm getting all excited. All right, we understand each other. Please tell people how to get. By the way, I don't think Harper and Row are going to put out the next book that you write.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I just want to say they have been. My publisher has been. It's HarperCollins, which is the larger division.
I'm sorry.
And they have been, overly gracious to me, and they have been, just great in terms of promoting the book and, really, putting forth, I think, just a quality story. One that, what I really love about what they allowed me to do is, I just don't want to write a book I wanted to write a book that changed people, that inspired them, and that made them think, that used, Ryan's life and our friendship to really convey a message of hope, of faith. And, I think that, some people have said, wow, it's tragic that Ryan dies at the end. Where is God in that? And I thought about that for a long time. And I think that, for me, there's a daughter.
Maybe that the daughter survived. He had the daughter in time. Maybe that's where he is, in the daughter.
Well, I think that, look, I think Ryan Job was in me. A part of me died when Ryan died. We were good friends, and a part of me left when he left, and but I want to say it was replaced with a part of him, and he lives in me, and he lives in a lot of the people that in his life that he touched, and so Ryan Job lives. And look, one thing that Ryan taught me is that what, Barry, it's all borrowed time, brother, right? We're not promised tomorrow. It's all borrowed time, right? I mean, we can go anytime, and you're going to make the best of each day and live it to the fullest without regret. And, that's what Ryan Job did. The Indian, the Native American Indian, the Native American chief Tecumseh says it well when he says, on your deathbed, don't beg your God for another moment of life to live it differently. Sing your hero song, right? Go out as a warrior. And Ryan Job did that. He did that, right? He did not beg God for another day to relive his life a different way, right? He went out as a warrior, and his friends buried him like a warrior. I'll tell you, the most powerful thing I've ever experienced in my life. I gave a eulogy. I sat down. I was going to lead Ryan out with his dog. And his friends got up. 300 Navy SEALs got up. They removed the golden trident from their breast. This is the thing they covet most dearly in their life, right? This is the symbol of the brotherhood. They took it off and walked up to Ryan's casket, and they pounded their tridents into the wood of his casket, one by one. It was dead silence, right? And that was them saying, we love you. Great work. A beautiful life. That was them honoring him.
I think some of them might have said, you died too soon, pal.
But you know what? They all die too soon. I know. Look, I've buried a lot of friends. I've been to a lot of funerals. Guys, both who have come home from the battlefield and those, sadly, who have been on the battlefield here. And they all go too soon. Their lives are short. And, there's a great eulogy given by Emerson of his friend Henry David Thoreau. And Thoreau died at a very young age. Those of you who may know Thoreau, he wrote Walden. And Emerson says of Thoreau that, he's such an amazing life, such a noble soul, that you outlive the usefulness of this life. And you're off to a better place with his beauty and courage. And I just love that quote by Emerson, the eulogy that he said in honor of his friend.
You're justifying through strong words, but you're trying to live with this passing through these words. All right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. You know what? Leave that be. If, again, when this show ends, go to lulu.com and get my book on Rabin murder. I know all about how they knock people off. All right? I'm just saying, I'm not throwing this out of ignorance. I've gone through this. All right, let's go back to the Ryan that you want to remember, the man who got his BA in business administration with a 4.0 average. Let's go back to the person you want to talk about.
Yeah, he did that totally blind. He did 2 years at the University of of Washington, left in 2002, became a Navy SEAL, re-entered the higher education program, the system, in 2008. Did 2 years, almost 3 years worth of coursework in a short period of time, and graduated with honors, a 4.0. With a bachelor's degree in business administration. Sadly, his diploma came in the mail the same day that he passed from this world. But
what's his daughter's name?
I promised the family that I would not speak about, his wife.
All right, I was going to dedicate a little. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm apologizing. I'm trying to take every diplomatic angle in this interview. All right, 4.0. He graduated blind. He was having reconstructive surgery, pretty typical stuff, done when his life ended too soon. There, I summed it up from my point of view.
Yeah, that's generally that's the gist of the book. And what I think, there's a couple of points in the book that I would like readers to to get, is that Ryan, I don't think Ryan ever took a day of his life after or before he was wounded for granted. I think Ryan lived his life all in all the time. He earned his pilot's license at a very young age. He worked as a janitor in high school to earn the money to become a licensed pilot, because he thought and he knew that he wanted to be a naval aviator after he was a SEAL, and that having his private pilot's license would have helped. So he accomplished that. Went into SEAL training, made it through what is arguably one of the most challenging training courses there is. Basic underwater demolition school, or BUDS. Made it through that. Look, BUDS has an attrition rate of, there's been a class that never graduated with 100% attrition rate. More people make it into the NFL out of the college ranks than into the SEAL teams on a BUDS. Ryan Job made it. So Ryan Job never took, a day of his life for granted. He was all in all the time and just lived an amazing life. And after being blinded, I think this is what is so inspiring to people, including me. After being blinded, you would think that Ryan Job would say, you know what, I'm blind, I'm good, I'm just going to take my pension, I'll go to school, and that'll be it. We'll just, I'll go the route of every other disabled person. To the contrary, Ryan Job was, again, all in, out climbing mountains, wanting to do, we were actively training for an Ironman triathlon when he passed.
Oh, gosh. Look, I hate to do this, Robert, but time is running out. Please tell people how to get your book.
Thanks, Barry. You can get it at Amazon.com. It's A Warrior's Faith. You can buy it wherever books are sold, and you can find more information, images, online at awarriorsfaith.com. Certainly, you can find me on Facebook, Robert Vera, and A Warrior's Faith on Facebook as well. All right, look, for all the people out there who are veterans, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you for this interview. Stay in touch. Don't lose me. All right, folks, there we have it. Mr. Vera's very, very good book, Get Warrior's Faith. Good night, all. This is Mary Chamish.
If you'd like to get a copy of this program, you may subscribe at FirstAmendmentRadio.com for only $45 a month, and you'll receive an MP3 CD weekly of all of our programs. As bonus, we'll send you a password for our audio archives online. That's a $15 value. Or you may request any month of any program on one MP3 CD for a minimum donation of only $25, or any single program on tape, MP3 CD, or CD for only $15. You may do all of this online at FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Just follow the instructions to make a donation or subscribe. You may also adopt an hour of your favorite program. Please don't forget that most of the programs on FirstAmendmentRadio.com are listener-supported. Don't do Internet? Then call 559-781-3773 and we'll be honored to help you. Thank you from all of us here at FirstAmendmentRadio.com. years ahead of the dominant media. FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. The White House says President Obama is removing Cuba from a list of state sponsors of terrorism. It's a key step in the president's bid to normalize relations between the two countries. The White House says on Twitter that Obama has submitted to Congress required reports